Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/Animal Stories for Kids. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was a barred owl named Ivy. Ivy the barred owl lived in the quiet shadows of a dense green forest, in the hollow of a tall old oak tree. She had big brown eyes, feathers the color of tree bark, and a voice that hooted like a question. "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" That's what barred owls sound like. And Ivy? She was one of the best hooters in the whole forest. She loved the peacefulness in the area of the forest that she lived in, and she hoped it would always be peaceful. Inside the tree hollow, Ivy the barred owl had 3 fluffy, wide-eyed babies. They had little tufts of downy feathers, wobbly heads, and always seemed to be hungry. Ivy named them, well, she didn't actually name them. Owls don't really do that. But she did know them each by their squeaks and wiggles. Every evening, just as the sun dipped behind the trees and the squirrels went to sleep, Ivy the barred owl stretched her wings, gave a little hop, and flew out to find dinner. She swooped silently through the forest. Like all owls, her wings were designed for a quiet, super silent flight. Her big eyes could see in the dark, and her round face helped her hear the tiniest squeak of a mouse. Ivy caught a wriggly vole, then a hopping frog, and even a slippery crawdad from the stream. Barred owls, like Ivy, love living near water. That's where the tastiest snacks live. Streams, swamps, and old forests are perfect for hunting, nesting, and teaching owlets how to be owls. But this part of the forest had a problem. A big, feather-fluffing, eyeball-staring problem. A great horned owl. Now, great horned owls are powerful and fierce. They're like the grumpy giants of the owl world. They don't hoot with questions. They hoot with power and authority. And worst of all, they think everything belongs to them, including Ivy the barred owl's part of the forest. Late one night, as Ivy glided back to her hollow with a snack in her beak, she heard the deep, booming hoot of the great horned owl echoing through the trees. Hoo, 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 hoo. The great horned owl hooted loudly, making sure every creature in the forest knew that it had arrived. Ivy the barred owl flapped quickly back to the tree. She tucked her babies under her wings and peeked out. The forest was quiet. It was a peaceful kind of quiet, the kind of quiet that Ivy the barred owl liked. But there was nothing peaceful about the forest right now, especially with the great horned owl around. Ivy just wanted to live her life in peace. But Ivy could feel the great horned owl's eyes watching. She stayed up the whole night, blinking and listening, even when her baby snuggled in and snored tiny baby owl snores. The next day, Ivy the barred owl did something a little unusual. She flew to a different part of the forest to hunt. Barred owls are mostly homebodies. They like to stay close to their nesting spots. But Ivy knew the great horned owl was nearby, and she wasn't taking any chances. She came back with a crayfish and a juicy worm, proud of what she caught. But just as she landed near her tree, a rush of wind, a burst of feathers, and the great horned owl dove down from above. Ivy the barred owl dropped the crayfish and flapped up into the sky. the two owls circled each other in the air. The great horned owl hissed and snapped its beak. Hoo, 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 hoo. It hooted at Ivy, letting her know that it had its eyes on her. Ivy puffed up her feathers to look bigger and gave her loudest, most serious, "Who cooks for you all?" making sure the great horned owl knew that she wasn't gonna back down anytime soon, and that this was her forest too. Now here's the thing. Barred owls are not the best fighters. Great horned owls are bigger, stronger, and can even eat other owls. But Ivy the barred owl didn't give up. She hooted, flapped, and twisted through the branches until the great horned owl gave up the chase and flew away with an angry hoo, 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 making sure that she knew that today she won, but that it would be back next time. When she landed, Ivy the barred owl was tired. She looked at the crayfish lying in the moss, ruined. But when she peeked into the hollow, her babies greeted her with happy squeals. They were safe, and to Ivy, that was the only thing that mattered. Over the next few weeks, Ivy the barred owl stayed alert. Barred owls are very protective parents, and Ivy became extra sneaky. She hunted at different hours, flew new routes, and always checked the trees for that big owl. She even moved her babies to a different hollow in a nearby pine tree, just in case. And then, after a few weeks, something wonderful happened. One baby owl wobbled to the edge of the hollow, stretched its stubby wings, and fell. "Who cooks for you?" Ivy the barred owl yelled as she zipped down and landed beside her baby. But the little one was okay, just a little dazed. Barred owl babies leave the nest before they can fly well. They hop around on branches. It's called branching. It's a very silly time for owl moms. Soon, all three owlets were branching and bumbling. They flapped clumsily, climbed tree trunks with their beaks and feet, and hooted tiny hoots. Ivy taught them how to listen, how to see in the dark, and how to fly without making a sound. One night, Ivy watched from her favorite perch as her three owlets flew, really flew, for the first time. They weren't perfect. One flew sideways into a bush, one landed in a puddle, but Ivy puffed up with pride. And do you know what she did? She hooted so proudly, the whole forest heard. "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" she said. Because even though being a barred owl mom was hard, even though there were scary nights and crayfish dropped and feathers ruffled, even though the forest could be wild and full of bullies like the great horned owl, Ivy knew that this forest, her forest, had room for love, courage, and the silly, branch-hopping joy of watching her babies grow. And that's a kind of peace that you can feel deep in your feathers. And the barred owl lived happily ever after. The end. The barred owl, or Strix varia, is also known as the northern barred owl, the striped owl, or the hoot owl. Barred owls can be found in North America. Barred owls have been known to live in city parks if it's quiet enough and there are big trees around. Barred owls live in the eastern and central parts of the United States, parts of Canada, and also in the Pacific Northwest. Some common places they can be found are places like Florida swamps, Appalachian forests, and even forests in Oregon and Washington. Their name comes from the vertical bars or stripes on their feathers. Barred owls' feathers are brown and white, which helps them hide in trees. They are part of a group called true owls, or the Strigidae. Barred owls like to live in forests with lots of trees. They also love wet places like swamps, marshes, and forests near rivers or lakes. Barred owls like to nest in hollow trees where it's dark and safe. Sometimes they'll use old nests made by squirrels, hawks, or crows. Barred owls don't migrate. They usually stay in the same area their whole life. Barred owls make a sound that sounds like, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Their hoots are loud and can echo through the forest. They can also make growls, cackles, and even screeches when they're scared. Barred owls lay 2 to 4 eggs in a nest. The mother barred owl does most of the sitting on the eggs. After the baby hatches, they're fed. Baby owls are called owlets. Owlets leave the nest after about 4 to 5 weeks, but they still can't fly yet. They climb around tree branches instead. This is called branching. The babies stay with their parents all summer to learn how to fly and hunt. Barred owls are carnivores, and they hunt mostly at night. Barred owls eat mice, rabbits, rats, frogs, lizards, snakes, fish, bugs, and even small birds. Barred owls are medium to large owls and can be from 17 to 20 inches tall. Their wingspan is about 3.5 feet wide, and they don't have ear tufts like other owls. They have small beaks that are yellow, and their eyes are dark brown. They can also turn their heads almost all the way around, 270 degrees. The barred owl's biggest predator is the great horned owl. The great horned owl can chase barred owls or even eat them. Barred owls are very protective of their babies. Barred owls can swim a little if they fall into water. Have you seen a real-life barred owl before? If you have, where did you see it? If you want to write to us, ask your parent to email us at animalstoriesforkids@gmail.com and tell us what you think of our stories. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/animalstoriesforkids. Until next time, bye!